The Idries Shah Foundation podcast. Practical Psychology for Today. Featuring the works of Idries Shah, voiced by David Ault. Welcome to the Idries Shah Foundation podcast. In this edition of the podcast, we present excerpts from Thinkers of the East by Idries Shah. This audio has been made available by the Idries Shah Foundation. 3 Men of Turkestan. 3 men of Turkestan were followers of a braggart ignoramus who spoke a few words of Persian. They called themselves his disciples, and he taught them 3 words. They each memorized one. We were not, and happy. As soon as they had gained this knowledge, nothing could prevent them from starting off on their travels to visit a holy shrine, repository of all wisdom. As soon as they entered Khorasan, however, they saw a dead man lying on the ground. They dismounted to look at this strange sight, and when they had done so, some Khorasanis came up and said, "Who killed the man?" "We," said the first disciple, using the only Persian word he knew. They were seized and taken to court. The judge said, "Why were you standing around this body?" The second disciple said, "We were not." "That is a lie," said the judge. Then he asked, "How do you feel if you kill a man?" "Happy," said the third disciple. "These people must be monsters," cried the Khorasanis. The judge asked, "What was the motive of the crime?" The 3 cried out, using all their Persian, "We were not happy." "They are undoubtedly incorrigible murderers," said the judge, as he sentenced them to be hanged. Feeling. Uwais was asked, "How do you feel?" He said, "Like one who has risen in the morning and does not know whether he will be dead in the evening." The other man said, "But this is the situation of all men." Uwais said, "Yes, but how many of them feel it?" The Precious Jewel. All wisdom, according to Daoud, is contained in the various levels of interpretation of this ancient traditional tale. In a remote realm of perfection, there was a just monarch who had a wife and a wonderful son and daughter. They all lived together in happiness. One day the father called his children before him and said, "The time has come, as it does for all. You are to go down an infinite distance to another land. You shall seek and find and bring back a precious jewel." The travellers were conducted in disguise to a strange land, whose inhabitants almost all lived a dark existence. Such was the effect of this place that the 2 lost touch with each other, wandering as if asleep. From time to time they saw phantoms, similitudes of their country and of the jewel, but such was their condition that these things only increased the depth of their reveries, which they now began to take as a reality. When news of his children's plight reached the king, he sent word by a trusted servant, a wise man, "Remember your mission, awaken from your dream, and remain together." With this message they roused themselves, and with the help of their rescuing guide they dared the monstrous perils which surrounded the jewel, and by its magic aid returned to their realm of light, there to remain in increased happiness for evermore. The Price of a Symbol. When he was asked, "Why do you charge so much for your lessons?" Syed Ghaus Ali Shah said, "Why should I not?" His questioner continued, "Surely it did not cost you so much to gain your knowledge, or to live while imparting it." "On the contrary," said the Sufi, "it cost me so much that money is no equivalent for me. It is just a symbol to me, but it has relative reality to you." The water wheel. It is related that a man went to Hakim Omar Khayyam and said, "My dearest wish is that you should accept me for your teaching and confirm in me the truths which I have learnt from my earlier teachers, which have in fact led me to you." The Hakim took this man to a place where a water wheel was running. He placed a piece of wood to join the wheel, and the wheel stopped running. Now, he said, "This piece of wood represents your earlier teachers. Wood may be placed in conjunction with a water wheel to stop it temporarily, as, for instance, when a repair is needed. For the wheel, the thud when the wedge took effect might be a notable experience. It might acquire a taste for the state of stillness, with water running past it in place of its own movement. Now the wheel, aware that the reverberation of the wood has ceased, may seek a similar experience. But can we accept that what the wheel needs is to receive another block of wood? Only the observer, dear companion, can see the whole of a picture. The picture itself may imagine anything. Imagination is not sight. Rauf Mazari. Few people who observed Rauf could understand why he sometimes seemed full of confidence and sometimes unsure of himself. Then someone noticed that he always acted and spoke in a less assured way, the lower the capacity or sincerity of the person who was visiting him. Mazari said of this, "I am so deeply disturbed by the inner state of people who are anxious that I reflect that state." Idlers often imagined that Rauf was of a nervous disposition. They were very confused when they found that his inner capacities were regarded as of the highest by the greatest Sufi sages of the age. Meaning of a legend. Syed Imam Ali Shah draws attention to an ancient legend which uses the Egyptian pyramids as its framework, and then explains the way in which stories were devised for teaching purposes. The story tells how a certain pharaoh had a secret chamber built in his pyramid tomb during his lifetime, so that all his treasures could accompany him to the next world. The builder, however, told his two sons, saying, "I shall die poor, but you will be able to enter the treasury by this secret passage, whose map I give you as your heritage, for the king is an usurper, and has accumulated the gold from poor people such as us." When the sons had taken away some of the gold, however, one of them was caught by a hidden trap. He persuaded his brother to cut off his head, so that the family would not be caught and could continue to enter. After some argument, the brother did this, and made good his escape. The king was surprised to find the body without a head. He gave orders for the body to be tied to a wall and a watch kept on it. The relatives, he reasoned, would want the body back, and if they tried to reclaim it, he would have them captured. But the surviving brother was clever. He got some skins of wine, loaded them on a donkey, and allowed them to spill on the road near the watching guards. The guards took some of the spilt wine and drank it. When they were drunk, the brother took the body away for burial. The Syed states that this tale illustrates that events are parallel with mental working. The treasure stands for accumulated human knowledge. The pharaoh is the delinquent tendency of the mind to prevent people learning something which is to their advantage. The father is the man who knows how to obtain the knowledge, and the two sons are two conditions of the human mind. The first brother represents the reckless yet imaginative function. The other stands for the surviving active principle, which has as much inventiveness as the other. In this manner, as much as any other, continues Imam Ali Shah, the service of humanity continues. Note well that the operation of the teaching takes place in an extraordinary manner. It is not necessary for this story to be untrue, for it to be significant for teaching illustration. Ardabili. Asked why he never thanked anyone for doing anything, Ardabili said, "You may not be able to credit this, but if I thank them they will feel pleased, and that amounts to the same as if they had been paid or recompensed for their trouble. If they are not thanked, there is still a possibility that they will in future be requited for their service, and such requital might be far better for them. It might come, for instance, at a time when they really need it." Inward and outward knowledge. The orally transmitted teaching of Samarkandi includes this significant passage. The outward scholar studies either for himself or because he wishes to be seen, heard, or applauded. The inner sage studies for the sake of knowledge, not for his own sake. When the inner sage has attained his knowledge, he may become a worker or a teacher. If he is a teacher, his only concern will be to entrust knowledge to those who can benefit from it in a real manner, not those who will try to use it to adorn themselves, to impress others, or to feel important. Unfortunately, although the true inward scholar can easily understand which people want knowledge for unsuitable reasons, he cannot point them out directly to themselves, because their nafsi amara, or commanding self or conditioning, denies its role so strenuously that it prevents real knowledge being gained if it can. When real knowledge comes, the commanding self is obliterated. Why should one wonder, therefore, that it fights so hard? It is because of this that the wise enjoin humility. The Secret Teacher. A man found the secret teacher Hida working as a ferryman. Hida read his thoughts and said to him, "If I approach people in the street and tell them what to do, they will think I am mad, or am doing it for myself, and they will not do it. If I dress like a learned or a rich man and advise them, they will disobey, or else simply try to please me, instead of trying to please that which I represent. But if I mix with the people and say a word here and a word there, some will listen, just as you yourself recognized me, and 1,000 others did not." This podcast is copyright 2016, the Idries Shah Foundation.